Hello there and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. A very special Blood Red podcast today. I'm your host, Joe Rimmer, joined by Ian Doyle. How are we, Ian?
Okay, yeah, you?
Excited as always. Theo, are you slightly more excited for this podcast?
I'm tired.
You tired? Yeah.
It'll be even worse by the end of this, but I'm excited for it.
Did you stay out after your work last night?
No, I didn't, but that's because I was at a wedding the night before.
Right.
So I'm back from Brecon, so dead early. Yeah, it was a long day.
No one feels sorry for you, Theo. We're in the Bentley bar, which is just above the Three Graces, the old Jurgen's bar on the Strand there. You can see behind us. People are gathering ready for the victory parade later today. It is currently 12 p.m, and the bus will probably go down here, 5:30, 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
At best, yeah. I think the club said it would be around then, but probably a little while later by the time they make their way through the city. Plenty to talk about, but before we talk, we need to say a big thank you to our sponsors, NordVPN. As always, to get the best discounts off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/bloodred. And our link gives you 4 months extra on a 2-year plan. There's no risk at all with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link will be in the podcast episode description box. And before we continue, Nord are also bringing out Saily, which is a great eSIM app that you can download for your phone. And we've got some exclusive discount on that. So download Saily in your app store and use our code BLOODRED at checkout to get an exclusive 15% off your first purchase. For more information, please go to the episode description box. We're not live today for obvious reasons, but please give us thumbs up, stars, likes, nice reviews, say all those nice things. Let's get started. So much to talk about. First of all, you've never gone. You want to say something? You look like
I was going to say, don't forget to press the bell.
Don't press the bell. Yeah, press the bell. But we're not live, are we? But do press the bell if you're watching on YouTube for notifications. Doyley, I want to start with you because you've never been here for a parade. Is that
No,
am I right in saying
that's
that?
correct, yeah. I've always been busy working, as I am today, actually.
Yeah.
I'm mostly
You've been usually busy abroad or coming home from abroad.
twice in Paris, once in Morocco, due to my...
When did Liverpool play in Morocco?
They didn't. It's just obviously with the, let's just say that the cheaper route back from, where was I? Madrid, involved me going the wrong direction for a while and then coming back. 2006, for the FA Cup one, I was busy working. 2001, I was busy working.
Yeah.
So, I've always been busy working.
What about yourself, Theo? Have you been around for a parade?
I was in the office for 2019, so it wasn't quite the same. But we got back, me and Kai Delaney, didn't we, just in time after Paris in 2022. But they lost that one. This is going to be completely different, especially when it's 35 years since you can celebrate winning the league with France. You can tell already. You can tell. How it's going to be so different.
I mean, I remember 2019, and 2019 was crazy. Like, really, you haven't seen scenes like it. And I think today will be comparable. I remember 2022, I was actually in that building there on the balconies with those film crews just around now, really around the same time, and it was nothing like this. I mean, this is already pretty busy, so imagine what it's going to be like at 5:30, 6 p.m. when the bus comes past here. It's going to be crazy.
Do they know who you are, by the way?
I'm sure they do. People waving to me. I'm sure they know who I am. It's going to be a crazy day today. Doyley, it was the perfect day yesterday, wasn't it, really? I think everything went so well. It was a party atmosphere inside Anfield. The trophy lift was brilliant. Obviously, we'll go through some of the moments, but all round, just a brilliant day for Liverpool Football Club.
Well, the other thing was the Trent stuff as well. We may as well. Okay,
well, I want
to go straight to the Trent stuff because
okay,
I'm the one who was taking all the flack for my piece that I wrote 2 weeks ago, saying.
I think Trent might have been taking all the flack, but
well, I mean, okay, I was the one taking the slack for my piece. Okay, shall I say? I had anyway. Let's not go back over that again. But we saw the difference that can be made when everybody's on side and pulling in the same direction. We saw that yesterday. Obviously, there was a bit of trepidation when you're waiting for Trent's name to be read out for the team. When it was read out, there was huge cheers. I think the cheers were that loud to drown out if there was going to be any boos, but then it became obvious when he then came on for the start of the second half there weren't going to be any. Yeah. And to be fair to him, he had a really good game. And then you saw the emotional scenes for him, in particular, when it was his turn to go up and get his winner's medal. So I think we kind of addressed that now. We can just crack on with everything else.
Yeah, it was a wonderful moment, wasn't it? And do you think Jurgen being in the city, what he said on Friday night at the gala, do you think that helped get everyone on side or most people on side?
I'd imagine so, yeah. Like when Jurgen Klopp speaks, you listen. You can see when he made that speech, it was very well received, wasn't it, at the gala ball? And then it's just what was the actual feeling in the wider fan base? Was it a case of 2 weeks ago they felt they needed to make their point? That was the chance to make the point, and maybe took it granted a little bit that this game you couldn't just go right celebrations. You didn't need to be about Trent. So do need to give supporters credit for the fact that they could bring it back to the celebrations. And Trent, supported Liverpool fan, he's been waiting for this moment for as long as everyone else. So you can see how much it meant to him. Yeah, it stings that he's going, but at least he's been able to go on a high, and there's so many good moments to him. He had a really good half as well when he came on, played his part, and Mo Salah getting that equalising goal. It's just a shame that he's not going to be here to try and win a third league title next year, or the Champions League. But maybe he's back at Anfield as an opposing player. He'll get a nice enough reception and still be on the losing side. Yeah,
I was at the match yesterday, chatting with several different generations of Liverpool fans. One in his 70s, one around the same age as me, he was 35. And we were talking about winning the league and how difficult it is. And for people our age, yours, Theo, probably did start to wonder whether it would happen. And I know it sounds crazy, but and then the couple of friends we were talking to, the older fans, were saying they wondered whether they would see one again. Obviously, they won it in COVID, but with the circumstances, people weren't there to see it. So it was like the emotional outpouring yesterday. But your time covering Liverpool, was there times when you doubted whether they'd eventually get over the line again?
I suppose you have to say yes, but also no, in a typical
Ian Doyle.
Yes, basically. It's a typical me answer, yeah. When you look at it, when I first started covering them, Manchester United were the dominant force and remained it for about another 15 years.
Yeah.
But then you had teams like Arsenal would then pop up with someone like Arsene Wenger, and they'd have a really good team, a couple of good teams they had. And Liverpool were like, oh, well, United they never ever fell away, did they? They were always kind of there, especially when Ferguson was in charge. And then Chelsea got all their money, and that became a bit of an issue. And then Manchester City got all their money, and that became an even bigger issue. So you were thinking every time Liverpool got close, there was always something that was just a little bit short, and they weren't quite there, and there were reasons, not just because of them, but other clubs getting money. And then you got to bear in mind, it was 2010. Liverpool were very close to going into administration. You don't know what would have happened then. Fenway Sports Group then came in. What were they, New England Sports Ventures, I think it was then. And the slow rebuild started from there. And of course, the big thing they did was getting Jurgen Klopp. But it wasn't just that. It was Jurgen Klopp and then the kind of philosophy of how to bring in players and which players to bring in. And I think no matter what club you are, because we've seen this with Manchester City this season and Chelsea in recent years, doesn't matter how much money you've got, if you don't bring in the right players, doesn't matter how good your manager is, because there's no doubt that Pep Guardiola is the best manager, probably one of the best managers ever, and he's had a real difficult time this season for reasons that we know. But Liverpool got the players and got the right manager in, and then this season, obviously, with Klopp having gone, they've got in another manager who I wrote something today saying there'll been a lot of Liverpool fans and some journalists who, when they heard that Slot was getting the job, would have been on Wikipedia going, who is this guy? Not really knowing too much about him, other than he's the manager of Feyenoord.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff had to happen. I know I was there in 2020 when they picked up the trophy, and it's a strange one really, because they were quite clearly going to win the league that year, and all of this would have happened then. Obviously, because they were 25 points clear before lockdown happened, but for reasons that we know, they weren't allowed to do it. Theo mentioned 2022, that wasn't quite the same. But this is the opportunity that people have been waiting for. So, did I think Liverpool were going to win the league in my lifetime? Probably, because let's face it, Leicester and Blackburn have won it since Liverpool last won it. And Leeds, actually. So
maybe not in your lifetime,
in that time.
Until you retire, which might be your lifetime.
Well, the way things are going, I'll still be like 90 by the time I'm allowed to retire.
10 years.
Yeah, no. But no, I did think that they'd do it, but I didn't think they'd do it this season.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. That's what made it such a big surprise, that while they came close-ish last year, fell away a little bit, that Klopp went, that they didn't make any new signings apart from Keyes, who hasn't played anyway, that they've got in a manager who'd never been a manager in England before and had only been a manager for about 4 or 5, 6 years, and certainly not at a team at this level. But you look at his record now, he's won the league 2 out of the last 3 years, finished second in the other one, with the bigger points total than he got when winning the league with Feyenoord, actually.
He could have won one in the pandemic year as well.
Exactly.
He was close,
He clearly, he knows what he's doing, and we've seen that, and that's why all these people are outside now getting ready to welcome their heroes. And it's because they got the right manager in Liverpool and they had all the right players who were already there. Be interesting to see what happens next season, but that's something for a bit later on.
Yeah, I mean, I know this season's been completely ruined by Liverpool not reaching Arsenal's points total of last season. but there's something, I was thinking about this yesterday and thinking 84 points. It's quite nice that Liverpool have won it with 84 points because, again, for people our age, I got to the point where I thought, God, you have to be perfect. You have to be absolutely perfect. And one slip, in 2008, 2009, Benitez had built this team, and I thought at the time they were really solid at the back. They had probably the best forward in the world, best midfielder in the world in Gerrard. Alonso was there. They were great all over the pitch. 2 defeats all season, and there was last-minute goals going in from United, and they got pipped to it. And then obviously 2014 happens, and Klopp's team goes close a lot of times, and it just made me think, you have to be absolutely perfect. So it's nice that Liverpool have come in, obviously got a very good manager and had a good season, but had a good season at a time when others haven't quite reached it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Like the last 20, 30 years, you've always been wondering, when is it going to be Liverpool's time? When are they going to get the advantage here? Because you've seen them come so close, but City have just been that little bit better. Or Arsenal, Chelsea, United, whatever. It's always just not been enough. And you look at years when like Leicester City win it, if Liverpool put their act together, they could have won it that season. You look at last year, you didn't want Arsenal to win it because it felt like a missed opportunity. Whereas this year, that's what it's been for Liverpool. It's like City have dropped off, and they've been the ones to take advantage. I know Arsenal fans go, "Oh, you've not got as many points." Liverpool been on the beach for a month. Like, if Arsenal had actually been breathing down their necks, they'd be getting over 90 points because they've got experience in the past. They've been able to slack off, and they're still 9-10 points clear. This is how impacted their lead has been this year, how good they have been, and then it'll be interesting to see what they can do in the future when it is going to be a few new signings here and there. But that's Arsenal's fault. Everyone can look at that side and go, they needed a centre forward, they needed a bit more depth, and they didn't address it. It's their own fault. They're the reason they're like 10 points behind.
I'd say Liverpool haven't quite been on the beach the last 5 weeks. They've been.
They literally have. They literally have been on the beach. Some of them,
they've been in the bar, slumped over, having absolutely rinsed their all-inclusive, haven't they? Because the first goal went in. It was like the whole team had wandered off the pitch for a moment. But let's go, before we talk a little bit about the game itself, let's talk about some of the great moments from yesterday. Obviously, you've talked about Trent. One of the things I've loved, and you can probably see I've noted down there, is that Chiesa, a man who's had 5 appearances or 6 appearances all season, barely featured, had 1 Premier League start, was like the theme tune for the whole afternoon. His song was ringing around the stadium, and it was nice it felt like every player had their moments. There was just so many great moments from yesterday, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think about Chiesa. I think if his song wasn't quite as catchy, I'm not sure he would have been quite as popular. Trying to think of my favourite moment. I'm not sure it'd be
Alisson
Chiesa
on the bar.
I think Alisson just running up with the trophy. Alisson when he ran up with the trophy. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, and this is going to be typical me again, I thought the Tottenham game, the whole day, was probably a better experience because the game was better and there was more on it. I think this was more of a kind of conclusion of the party. Well, today will be the conclusion of the party that started the minute the final whistle went against Tottenham. I think we did see, I mentioned this, that the injury time against Tottenham when they came up and said, 5 minutes, whatever it was, the same as the previous year for the last game with Jurgen Klopp in charge. And it happened again against who they just played? Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, yeah.
And your name is Ian.
Yeah, thank you. Where are we? Crystal Palace. Is the minute the board goes up, says additional time, the crowd then go, right, that's it, we've won it. And we're now, in this case, we're now about to get the trophy. And I think that's when they really kicked in. He heard all the chants, and then it just kind of went from there. So another good point was the moment was when Liverpool gave Crystal Palace the guard of honour. That was good. That was good. Yeah. And there was another little thing that happened, which I know most people wouldn't have spotted, were in the first half, when Liverpool's subs got up to go and warm up just before half time, Glasnow, the Palace boss, was in the technical area, and they went up to him and congratulated him as they were going past.
Did they?
Yeah. So that was a nice little touch. So it was that kind of day's celebration, and also a lot of Palace fans stayed behind to watch an awful lot of that trophy lift. They did, admittedly, it's a long way back to London, and he wants to rush back to Euston. So
they were the perfect opponent, though. Yesterday, weren't they, Theo? I mean, the fans were great. They obviously were enjoying themselves. They stayed behind for the trophy lift. You had the managers were very good with each other. Glasnow was a class act, I thought. There was another nice moment where the referee or the assistant referee was retiring, so they went over to him. You could see a lot of people going to congratulate him. It was just, to me, what football should be all about, which is just happy times, people having a great time, and people being very positive. And Palace played into that, didn't they?
Well, yeah, it certainly helped that they won the FA Cup and it comes against Manchester City. big that moment is for them. It's why even when Liverpool lost the League Cup final, you could appreciate how big it was for Newcastle.
Yeah.
The League Cup's always a little bit different because it comes 2 months earlier.
Yeah, and it's the best competition in the world.
But you could have that overall celebration. It's just a shame Palace didn't bring the trophy with them.
Yeah.
It'd have been nice if they made it more of a celebration, but the game's still got to be played. And I'm not sure about you, Jordan. I don't remember too much from the 90 minutes. It was just waiting for the end.
There was a good pass from Trent
Nice
for
pass,
Nunes.
Yeah,
Diaz had a
after
couple of
Diaz,
chances, and there was the goal.
It was
But
all about what was coming afterwards. The game didn't matter. It was just that happy moments, that celebration with friends and family. These are the times you've been waiting to see.
Can I just say, not everybody was positive. There was a guy who was sat by the press box, and he's been sat there all season, and he literally didn't stop moaning all the way through the game. And I had some.
You got a mirror in the press box?
mentioned this. Be quiet. I mentioned this on. I mentioned this on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. I mentioned this on that, and people were saying, "Well, what did you expect? The game was rubbish and the standards were low and this, that, and the other." And I felt like replying, "He's done that all the way through the season, every single game. Liverpool are quite good.
Yeah.
They have finished top of the league by 10 points, and I think in a league where the second place team got to the semi-finals of the Champions League, the 60, well, they were at the time. I think they've ended up 15th and 17th place teams have played in the Europa League final, and the team that's finished 5th, I think it is, 4th, are going to be winning the Conference League. It shows you that it's actually been quite a strong league, really.
Yeah, and psychologically, you're going to have a little bit of a drop-off. I thought the game, like you, there was some great moments in it. I thought Endo was man of the match, came on and was just brilliant. But the first goal was very much a team half asleep on the pitch. They just sort of parted, didn't they, Liverpool, and allowed Palace in. And then Palace were very well drilled. They got 5 at the back. They're a good team for a reason, Palace, and they won the FA Cup for a reason. And Liverpool had to go and break them down. It took them a while, but they got their goal, and it was fitting that it was Mo Salah who broke those records then with the goal assist thing. Obviously, there's that great photo of him after the game with all his trophies on the pitch. But
you didn't realise how many there were. There was like 4 or 5 trophies on that pitch. Yeah.
But he spearheaded this title season. He has grown into just the perfect man for Liverpool, and he was good again yesterday and got his goal, didn't he?
Yeah, he was so fitting that it was him. It could only be him. It's just a shame he didn't get the assist he needed, or was it a 2 assists he needed to equal that assist record? I think if he got a second goal, he'd have been on for the European Golden Shoe as well.
Yeah.
But I think last few weeks he's known those have probably slipped away because Liverpool have dropped off a little bit. But he steps up, the man of the moment. Clinical finish from him. Yeah, it takes deflection, but he's in the right place to get on the end of it. You see some chances for like Jota scuffing a shot against the post.
Yeah.
Diaz had a couple. You think, is it just going to be one of these days where you don't get the perfect finale?
Yeah.
But Mo Salah, Arsenal, that's what he's done all season, honestly. When Liverpool need a goal, he is the one who steps up. And we do, every game, we do the little quiz in the programme beforehand. And I think it was at the assist
Do you get 9 out of 10 every time?
Well, it's funny you should say that.
Yeah,
It's funny you should say this was the one where he didn't.
I didn't do
Really?
well yesterday.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
But we were going
Normally, his Rayman-esque tendencies normally
Yeah.
shine through.
Usually
these
drops
things.
1 point to try and show that he's not cheated. Yeah.
But one of the questions was beyond Salah, who's got the most assists. It was 2 players, wasn't it, who got like
In the
6
Premier League,
assists?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 6 each, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that shows how much of the league of its own Salah's been in. The fact that he can have 18 assists, 29 goals. But it doesn't feel like he's been carrying this team. They've lacked Matthias the last few weeks. Trent has been great in some moments.
Yeah.
Van Dijk's been superb.
Yeah.
Szoboszlai's had some brilliant few months around Christmas time, going into that charge from the forward, pulling away from Arsenal. Gakpo, Diaz, but Salah is just that league above.
Yeah.
He's so bad. He's got that contract for another 2 years.
Yeah. Everyone's played their part. By the way, if there's a bit of noise, Bentley Bar is just setting up. We're in the calm before the storm, if you like, and the place is going to be packed full of people shortly. So
Reminds me of the old days where we used to record them in the Trattoria across the road from the office.
Yeah, there you go. So
with the coffee machine going off.
There's Liverpool flags and balloons and everything around us. So this place is going to be absolutely booming, and it already is downstairs. We came through downstairs, and the bar is packed. So it's going to be a good day for the bars and pubs around Liverpool. Some send-offs yesterday, do you think? Obviously, there are going to be some players leave, but obviously Trent very emotional. Harvey Elliott seemed quite emotional. Nunes got a good ovation, perhaps his last appearance. What do you think in terms of that?
I mean, there are 1 or 2. Let's say there's more than 1 or 2 who don't really know what their future's going to be. Nunes, one, we mentioned him. Elliott, another. But it's not just them. Look at Queven Kelleher. Looks like he could be going. Even someone like Joe Gomez, Kostas Tsimikas, Luis Diaz. Yeah,
it's crazy to think there could be so much churn.
There won't be because that's not the way that it's going to work. But that there are so many who doubts over their futures, it just show you that this is a time for change, because you can't go to 3 consecutive seasons with basically the same squad. That just doesn't happen. Yeah. And the good thing for Liverpool is that we already know that they're signing Jeremy Frimpong. They're making a big go for Florian. Yeah. It's not even Wirtz, is it? It's Wirtz or something like that. No, it's I can't remember how it's pronounced, but it's not Wirtz basically. And Kirk has at Bournemouth as well. Yeah. So there could be 3 players coming in within the next couple of weeks. Because when the transfer window opens, start next week, isn't it?
June 1st for 2 weeks, doesn't it, or 10 days?
For 2 weeks, yeah. But that does mean that Liverpool are going to have to, see a few players off. Trent, we know, is going. Yeah. There'll be quite a few others. Which one? I didn't even mention Chiesa as well. Yeah. You mentioned him before. So Liverpool are fortunate that they're doing it from a position of strength, though, aren't they? And also they're in that rare kind of thing where they are Premier League title winners, but there's some obvious areas where they can improve. Yeah. When they won it in 2020, it wasn't quite so obvious because they'd got 99 points or whatever it was, and they'd won the Champions League the season before, so it was hard to improve that squad, but it'd be a bit easier to do it this time.
Slot did address it in the post-match press conference where he's saying he needs to have conversations with these players to see what they want to do. Yeah. Like Harvey Elliott, he's a boy at Liverpool fan. He wants to play more, so you can imagine that's split, isn't it? It's like whether he wants to stay. And then you look at it, they're not going to go as strong as they did in the Champions League phase. Yeah. They could rotate a bit more in the Premier League because he's got his feet under the table. Yeah. It's just whether the space for them in the squad. Like take Chiesa for example. If Nunes goes, Jota goes, he sticks around. He's going to get more opportunities. Salah's going off to the Cup of Nations, but it's about looking at our overall squad. They're getting in Frimpong, Wirtz, Kirkes, hopefully. Yeah. That's the 3 big points they needed to address. They need a striker as well, but then you look at the departures and say, what else do you need to do? Yeah,
is that a worry though? I never like to see too many changes at once, and I think we've seen in the past when Suarez left and Liverpool spent a lot of money on various different positions, and we've seen other teams struggle a little bit when there's a lot of churn. Is it a situation that the manager's going to have to really delicately balance?
Yes, but if you look at it, even with the players who've come in, you wouldn't be surprised if it's just 1 or 2 of them that are coming in, or meant to be coming in. If just only 1 or 2 of them who start the first game of next season, there is a scope for them to, gradually bring players into the team, like happened under Klopp with the likes of Andy Robertson, with Fabinho. There's been 1 or 2 others as well. Diogo Jota was one, I think. He didn't play an awful lot. Canate is another one. He hardly played in the Premier League in his first season. Yeah. So there is an opportunity for Liverpool to do that. They don't have to throw all of these new players that they're going to sign straight in, because this is a squad that already knows how to win trophies.
Yeah. And all the big clubs are going to be doing the same thing. Yeah. Arsenal need to spend, City need to spend, Chelsea always spend. Yeah. United will, if they can get back in it, Spurs. It's not going to be just Liverpool. It's going to be which sides, new signings maybe settle quickest, make the biggest impact sooner that will have a big say in that title race.
Yeah, well, just talking about rivals for a minute, sticking with that. It was interesting, the shake-up, wasn't it, yesterday, in the sense that anything really could have happened, but what ended up happening was that traditional Man City stayed in there, Chelsea stayed in there, Newcastle got in by the skin of their teeth, but are a team already with great backing in terms of their wealth. So Theo's right, I think it's going to be fierce, isn't it? And we were talking yesterday, the people I was at the match with, about who might be contenders next season. Man City, you would expect to get their act together and be better. Arsenal, you expect to go again. I wonder whether Newcastle will become contenders and whether Chelsea will as well. Sorry, they opened the door. Okay, well, they've opened the doors in Bentley Bar, so it's going to get busy quite quickly. So we'll see how things go, but it could get interesting. Yeah, we might do.
Are we getting a pint out of this?
Sorry?
Are we getting a pint out of this or not?
I don't know.
I would like to say that after the game, you mentioned before whether Theodore went into town afterwards. I did go into town.
I saw your Instagram story. Where did you go?
And the Midland. It was in the Midland, actually. Opposite the Midland, opposite Central Station.
Okay.
It's a proper ye olde.
Oh, yeah,
pub,
okay. Yeah.
But it was proper packed. And they had people on rotation coming in and, with the guys with guitars singing songs. Yeah. But what annoyed me is that when in the break that we're having in between swapping over, they were playing tunes, and one of them they played was an extended remix of the Premier League anthem. And I was
it's like they knew you were coming.
I was absolutely livid about it. They did not know I was coming now. Yeah. I was fuming about it, as you can imagine. Everyone else found it really funny for some reason.
Were you with your brother or anyone?
And other people I know. So they were quite pleased with how the day had gone. Although they were probably about 10 pints in by that point.
There was a guy sat next to me. A few seats down, who I probably is one of the drunkest people I've ever seen in my life. He gave me quite a lot of hugs, which was nice. But yeah, during the second half, at one point, he was just slumped. He was just slumped over, and his mate was leant on him. Hello, we're back. We were in Bentley Bar, but it started to get quite rowdy in there, and you wouldn't have been able to hear us. And even though I dream of not being able to hear Doyley on a daily basis, that wouldn't be good for a podcast. So where were we? We were talking about players leaving the club, some goodbyes. No, we were talking about rivals strengthening, and I asked you, Newcastle getting to the Champions League, expect them to have some money to spend. Man City coming back into it. Chelsea will obviously, nothing stops them spending money, but now they can really go at it. It's going to be fierce, I think, next season, isn't it?
It will be, but Liverpool are the team to beat, aren't they? Which
Absolutely,
is something that they haven't had since 1990.
Yeah.
And that season 2020-21 was a little bit odd in the sense there was no fans and it didn't quite feel real anyway. And Liverpool ended up having loads of injuries and didn't get to finish third. So I think it's interesting that obviously a lot of teams want a striker. There aren't many good strikers around. And one of them is Isak, who's obviously doing very well at Newcastle. Now they're in the Champions League. Probably not going to sell. One or two other positions. There's not that many players around who can improve Liverpool's first team. And I know I mentioned before that there are areas that can be improved, but that's more to do with the squad than the actual team itself. And over time, these players may end up becoming first team players. So it is difficult, but Liverpool have made quite a few moves already.
That's why that centre forward battle is going to be fascinating, isn't it, across the board? Because there's so few players of the quality that can improve these elite teams. Like we're seeing United go for Kuna, they're in talks for Liam Delap, but those aren't players you'd necessarily want at Liverpool or in Arsenal. Obviously, Isak now looks like he'll stay put, with them being in the Champions League.
Those types of clubs have got to gamble a bit more than Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. But then, like Chelsea, they need a new centre forward. Liverpool definitely do. Arsenal definitely do. And if you're all in the market for the same player, is one of them going to take a punt on Gyökeres, or do Liverpool just go, you know what, we're spending potentially club record 3 on Flo Wirtz.
Flo, you got it. Yeah,
Flo?
it's good. Yeah, that's nice for you.
Flo Wirtz. Yeah. Gakpo gets goals. Salah gets goals. He can be a new Bobby Firmino in there. We'll wait and see. It's still all to be determined.
Yeah, I mean,
might be an out here, by the way, and everyone seems to have never ever seen anybody get interviewed on television before.
Well, we're not all as famous as you, Ian.
No, just being generally
Yeah.
I thought it's been quite a common occurrence for you in the last few weeks outside Anfield.
Well, no, just once. Anyway,
it's more than us.
Yeah. Going back to defending the title. I mean, sometimes as well, you see teams grow from winning a title and become more confident, become more assured of themselves. And that surely is something that could happen to Liverpool. And if they do sign the right players, they really will be the team to beat in that regard.
Well, that's the big test, isn't it? That's what Slot said. We won't know until July the 8th, I think, is that they're coming back. Whether these players have retained the hunger, and that's the elite mentality that he wants from certain. He doesn't know he's going to get from certain people. He knows he's going to get it from Alisson and Salah and Van Dijk and Robertson and Gomez.
Yeah,
so there are those players, but he's put that challenge down, and he's put that challenge down probably to them since the game against Tottenham.
But this has gone under the radar for me because, say, McAllister's won a World Cup. Gravenberch's now won 4 league titles in 5 years. Szoboszlai won them in Austria. These players, even though if they're young and haven't got the experience in England, they've still won a lot of trophies elsewhere. So there was always that mentality in the Liverpool squad. It wasn't just a case of, they're going to have to rely on Van Dijk, Salah, Trent to get them over the line.
We're going to wrap this up in a minute, but I want to ask you, obviously Jurgen was there yesterday, Rafa Benitez.
He was there.
One of the moments we haven't talked about, which I thought was really nice, Alan Hansen handing the trophy to Virgil van Dijk, and there was a great picture of them together afterwards.
There's only one Alan Hansen ringing around.
Was there, the echoes, Was there? I was going to say, any more famous faces, anyone around, and anyone that was good to see that you maybe haven't seen for a while?
Gary McAllister was there. Walters was there.
Yeah.
Roy Evans was there.
Brilliant. Yeah.
David Fairclough, Steve Staunton.
Yeah.
Steve Staunton, that was one. You spotted him, didn't you?
Yeah.
Cinema Pongo, but he's always there.
The number of times he got patted on the shoulder.
Yeah. Adam Bogdan was your mate, Adam Bogdan.
Yeah, I said hello to him a couple of times.
Yeah.
He might be the most ginger person I've ever seen.
Well, that's not the answer I was looking for, but the presence of the Jurgen, the fact it was 20 years since 20 years, by the way, 20 years since Istanbul, Rafa being there, it just again added to the emotion, added to the feeling, didn't it, of yesterday?
Yes, it did. It was just another family affair, wasn't it? It's a celebration of this club. Like as you said, 20 years. It's ridiculous. It's been that long since Istanbul. Yeah. But the 25th of May, just a special
Also my
date.
dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. He was in Greece.
Is that yesterday?
That was yesterday,
Is it 2 European Cups they've won on that day?
I did. Yeah. I always tell him to wait till we record a podcast to get his happy birthday wishes. Before we wrap up, just down there is the waterfront. That's where the bus will be coming later on with the players on it. There's going to be some incredible scenes there. Any final words on the season? Final words on yesterday? And
final word now is the amount of people wearing shorts. It's freezing. It's going to be really cold by the time the bus turns.
Do you wish you had a coat on?
No, I can just about get away with this. Final thoughts for the season? I don't think a single person expected it to end like this. And I think everybody, that makes it that much a bit sweeter.
But are Arsenal favourites for next season?
I actually genuinely think
Let's not go down that road. Instead, go down that road later and see the bus. That was
good.
Go on. Oh, there's today's newspaper, which you can buy on our site. You can buy around Liverpool, or you can buy on the Reach store. We'll put the link in the podcast episode description box. And a big thank you for listening to Blood Red Podcast throughout the season. We'll be back on Friday. We'll be talking probably. Well, that's a very nice thing to say. We'll be talking transfers. Yeah, he listens to Royal Blue. We'll be talking transfers. We'll be talking the future, and we'll be talking everything else.